There is a person in your life right now who is studying you. Not in the way friends study each other, not in the way colleagues observe each other. Something else, something calculating. They are mapping your responses, measuring your weaknesses, filing away information about what costs you, what motivates you, and what you will tolerate. You have not noticed because they are good at it. The good ones always are. Most men think predators look dangerous. They do not. The predator who looks dangerous has already failed at the most important part of being a predator. Visibility makes prey flee. The professional predator looks like a friend, a mentor, a trusted colleague, someone whose presence in your life feels normal. By the time you recognize what they are, they have already extracted everything they came for. Machiavelli wrote it in 1513 with the cold clarity of someone who had seen too many men destroyed by their inability to recognize what was hunting them. The man who has not learned to identify predators is not safe. He is simply not yet on a predator's list. The list always arrives eventually. By minute 18, you will know exactly who in your current circle is operating against you. Stay until the end. There are 7 signs the apex predators of history have displayed before striking. 7 patterns that once you can see them, become impossible to mistake for normal behavior. 7 warnings the person hunting you is already broadcasting, without realizing it. The first one is happening to you in conversations this week. Chapter Card 1. The Overreached Intimacy. You met someone recently. Within the first few interactions, they shared something deeply personal, a vulnerability, a trauma, a confession that felt out of place for how new the relationship was. You felt honored. You felt trusted. You shared something back. That was the trap closing. The professional predator opens with vulnerability that costs them nothing. The story they told you may be partially true or completely fabricated. Either way, it served a function. It triggered the human reciprocity instinct. The brain reads deep disclosure as a signal of trust and responds by disclosing back. You revealed something genuine. They received intelligence about you they would have spent months extracting through normal conversation. The exchange was not symmetric. It was calibrated extraction. You have lived this. The new acquaintance who within weeks seemed closer to you than friends you had known for years. The instant intimacy felt special. It was not. It was technique. Hannibal Barca, the Carthaginian general who terrorized Rome for over a decade, used a softer version of this in political contexts long after his military career ended. After his exile from Carthage in 195 BC, he served as an advisor to King Antiochus III of the Seleucid Empire. Hannibal would meet new courtiers and within minutes share a fabricated personal grievance against Rome. Something personal, something painful, something that should have taken years of friendship to disclose. The courtiers responded by sharing their own grievances, their factions, their secret alliances, their resentments toward Antiochus. Within months of arrival, Hannibal had mapped the entire political structure of a foreign court through manufactured intimacy. He never used most of the information, but he had it, and when he needed leverage, the map was already drawn. When someone you have known for under 3 months has shared something deeply personal with you, do not feel honored. Feel observed. Their disclosure may have been real. Their strategy in disclosing it almost certainly was. The rule. Premature intimacy is not connection. It is reconnaissance. Chapter Card 2. the unreasonable generosity. Here is the second sign. This one is harder to detect because it feels good in the moment. Someone in your life has recently given you something they did not need to give: a favor, a gift, an introduction, an opportunity. The generosity was disproportionate to the relationship. You did not ask for it, they volunteered it. You felt grateful, you felt slightly indebted. You started looking for ways to reciprocate. That feeling is exactly what they were buying. Predators understand that obligation in the human nervous system operates like a debt that must be repaid. The brain literally cannot tolerate unreconciled imbalance with another person. When someone gives more than the relationship requires, the recipient begins generating the desire to balance the account even when the original gift was not requested. The professional predator weaponizes this. They invest small generosities, deliberately knowing that each one creates psychological leverage that can be activated later. The investments are tax-deductible from their long-term plans for you. You have witnessed this in workplace and family dynamics. The colleague who over years did small unrequested favors. By the time they finally asked for something significant, you felt obligated to agree, even though the new request was nothing like the small favors. The accounting in your nervous system did not distinguish. Catherine de' Medici understood this in 16th century France. As Queen Mother and effective regent during the rule of 3 of her sons, she could not directly command the factions of the French nobility. Direct commands would have triggered resistance. Instead, she ran a system of unsolicited generosities. She arranged marriages for noble families before they knew they needed them arranged. She bestowed titles on younger sons, who would otherwise have inherited nothing. She granted lands and pensions in advance of ever asking the recipients for loyalty. Years later, when she needed those nobles to support a specific decision, she did not ask for their loyalty as something owed. She invoked the gifts as if they were already known to require repayment. The nobles complied because their own nervous systems had been telling them for years that they owed her something. They had not realized the debt was the entire point of the gifts. When someone gives you something you did not ask for, do not ask, "How can I thank them?" Ask, "What is the eventual withdrawal that this deposit is preparing for?" If the honest answer is, "I do not know yet," your subconscious is already servicing a debt your conscious mind has not agreed to. The rule: generosity that seems disproportionate to the relationship is not generosity. It is investment. Chapter Card 3, The Vanishing When Inconvenient. 3. This is the sign most easily mistaken for normal busyness. Someone in your life is consistently available when they need something from you. They are responsive, quick to reply, eager to engage. They make time despite their busy schedule. When you need something from them, the pattern reverses. They become unavailable, slow to respond, vague about when they can help, apologetic but unable. Most men attribute this to circumstance. The predator's schedule must genuinely be tighter when you need them. They must have legitimate reasons for the timing. They do not. The pattern is the entire mechanism. The professional predator allocates their attention strategically. You receive maximum availability when you are useful to them, and minimum availability when you might require something from them. The asymmetry is not personality, it is resource management. Their attention is currency, and they spend it only on transactions that profit them. You have probably watched this in friendships and business partnerships that ended badly. The friend who was always there when they needed advice and unavailable when you needed it. The partner who was responsive during the deal and disappeared during the execution. The pattern was always consistent. You had simply been giving them the benefit of the doubt for years. Sejanus served as the prefect of the Praetorian Guard under Emperor Tiberius from 14 AD until his execution in 31 AD. Tacitus, the Roman historian, recorded his behavior with disturbing precision. When senators and officials sought favors from Tiberius, they went through Sejanus. He was always available, always responsive, always able to find time for them. He cultivated genuine intimacy with hundreds of powerful Romans who believed he was their friend. When those same Romans needed Sejanus for their own purposes, the pattern reversed. He became unreachable, schedules became impossible, promises were forgotten. The favors ran in one direction. Sejanus accumulated leverage from every interaction. By 26 AD, when Tiberius retired to Capri and left Sejanus effectively in charge of Rome, Sejanus had built a network of obligated officials throughout the empire. None of them had received from him what he had received from them. He was preparing throughout that decade to seize the throne. The plot failed only because Tiberius was warned in time. Sejanus was executed in 31 AD. The hundreds of senators who had cultivated his friendship were either executed alongside him or spent the rest of their careers under suspicion. Track availability patterns over 6 months. Note who is consistently available when they need you and consistently unavailable when you need them. The asymmetry tells you exactly what role you serve in their plans. The rule: asymmetric availability is not busyness, it is resource allocation, and you are not the asset being protected. Chapter Card 4. The framing of every outcome. 4. This sign operates at a higher level than the previous 3. It is not about behavior. It is about narrative control. Notice how a specific person in your life talks about events. When something good happens, they have a framing for it. When something bad happens, they have a framing for that too. Every outcome, regardless of what it is, gets explained in a way that benefits them. If they succeed, they earned it. If they fail, external circumstances were responsible. If you succeed, they helped. If you fail, it confirms a flaw they had been concerned about. The frame is always shifting, but the direction is always the same. They benefit from every story. You have probably accepted these framings without examining them. The framings feel reasonable in the moment. Each one takes only a small adjustment of your perception. But over years, the cumulative effect is enormous. You have ended up in a worldview entirely shaped by their interpretive control, in which they are always somehow more capable, more reasonable, or more wronged than you. Bernard Madoff ran the largest Ponzi scheme in financial history for over 20 years. By the time he was arrested in 2008, he had defrauded investors of approximately $65 billion. But examine how he managed his clients during those decades. When markets went up, Madoff explained that his proprietary trading strategy had positioned them perfectly. When markets went down, Madoff explained that his proprietary trading strategy had hedged them perfectly. Either outcome confirmed his genius. When investors asked questions, Madoff explained that the questions were rude. When investors did not ask questions, Madoff explained that they were sophisticated enough to trust the strategy. Either response confirmed his standing. When other money managers questioned his returns, Madoff explained that they were jealous. When his own employees questioned his methods, Madoff explained that they did not understand the complexity. Every challenge confirmed his narrative. Every fact was absorbed into the same story. For 2 decades, no external piece of evidence could break the frame. He had constructed an interpretive system in which he could not be wrong, only differently right. By the time the scheme collapsed, in 2008, the people who had trusted him for 30 years still struggled to believe the truth because they had been trained for decades to filter all information through Madoff's framing. When someone in your life always benefits from every story, regardless of what happened, the question is not whether their explanations are correct. The question is what their relentless narrative consistency reveals about their underlying intent. The rule: the person who benefits from every outcome is not lucky. They are framing. Chapter Card 5. The midpoint turn. You are halfway through. 3 signs remain. The next ones are the most subtle and therefore the most dangerous. The first 4 signs operate at the level of behavior. You can observe them with effort. The remaining 3 operate at the level of pattern recognition over time. They require you to look back across years of interactions and notice things you did not notice in any individual moment. This is why predators are so hard to catch. Each interaction is innocent. The pattern is the predator, and the pattern only becomes visible when you stop evaluating each interaction on its own and start asking what they all add up to. Chapter Card 6. The incremental positioning. 5. This sign requires you to look at the past 3 to 5 years of your interactions with someone. Has this person, slowly over time, moved closer to your center of operations? Has their proximity to your decisions, your information, your network increased gradually but consistently? Did they start as a peripheral acquaintance and become somehow an essential figure in your life without you ever inviting that promotion? If yes, you are watching a predator execute their primary strategy. Direct ascent triggers resistance. Incremental ascent triggers nothing. Each small step seems reasonable. The cumulative effect is total positioning. Empress Wu Zetian, who became the only woman to officially rule China as emperor in the 7th century AD, began as a concubine of Emperor Taizong. Most concubines remained peripheral. Wu did not. Each step was small. She befriended the right palace officials. She gained access to the next emperor, Gaozong, while still his father's concubine. She made herself indispensable to Gaozong as a confidant before becoming his consort. She made herself indispensable as a consort before maneuvering the previous empress out of position. She became empress. From that position, each next step was equally small. She took on small administrative tasks Gaozong did not want. She gradually expanded her authority over routine decisions. When Gaozong's health declined, she was already managing most of the actual governance. By his death in 683 AD, she controlled the empire in everything but name. She finally took the throne herself in 690 AD. Each step had been individually defensible. The cumulative trajectory viewed from the start would have been intolerable, but no one had ever viewed it from the start. They had only viewed each individual step. Examine the position someone in your life now holds compared to where they started. Is the trajectory reasonable for the person they are, or have they steadily increased their proximity to your operations beyond anything they earned by direct contribution? The trajectory is the diagnosis. The rule: slow positioning is positioning. The predator who moves quickly is amateur. The predator who moves invisibly is professional. Chapter Card 7. The invisible competition. 6. This sign operates entirely beneath the surface of ordinary interaction. Someone in your life regards you as a competitor without admitting it, even to themselves. They are tracking your wins and losses. They are pleased when you fail. They are diminished when you succeed. They mask the tracking with warmth, support, and friendship. But the calculation is running constantly. You can detect this through small, almost imperceptible reactions. The slight delay in their congratulation when you share good news. The slightly too quick comfort they offer when you share a setback. The barely noticeable brightening in their voice when they ask about something that did not go well for you. These are not flaws of character. They are signals. The person experiencing them is not your friend. They are running a competition you did not know you had entered. Robert Hansen served as an FBI agent for 25 years while simultaneously selling secrets to the Soviet Union and later Russia. He was eventually arrested in 2001 in what is widely considered the worst intelligence disaster in American history. Hansen was by every external measure a model FBI agent. He attended church regularly. He maintained close relationships with colleagues. He participated in office social functions. His family seemed normal. His commitment to the agency seemed total. Beneath all of it, Hansen was running a parallel calculation. Every promotion that went to a colleague rather than him registered as defeat. Every operational success of the FBI registered in some part of him as the success of an institution he was actively betraying. He cultivated personal relationships with agents he was simultaneously identifying to Russian handlers for surveillance and potential elimination. The FBI investigators, who eventually unmasked him, noted that Hansen's pattern of betrayal correlated almost exactly with moments of professional disappointment in his official career. He spied harder when he was passed over for promotion. He volunteered more information when colleagues received credit he believed was his. The competition was running in him constantly. The mask of collegiality was the disguise. The competition was the reality. When you notice someone responding to your wins with subtle dampening rather than genuine support, do not dismiss the observation. Trust it. Track it over time. The pattern, once established, almost never changes. You are dealing with someone whose growth has been linked in their psychology to your reduction. The rule: the competitor who admits competing is honest. The friend who is secretly competing is a predator. Chapter Card 8, The Perfect Mirror. 7. Last one. This is the most insidious because it exploits the deepest human desire. The predator has somehow become the person who understands you best. They share your worldview. They laugh at your jokes. They affirm your perspectives. They seem to see you in a way no one else does. This feels precious because it is rare. Genuine understanding is one of the most valuable things a human being can offer another. When someone offers it consistently, the recipient becomes deeply attached. What you are not seeing is that the perfect mirror is manufactured. The predator has studied your tastes, your opinions, your sensitivities. They have constructed a version of themselves designed to reflect you back to yourself. The relationship feels deep because you are essentially in relationship with a curated version of your own preferences. You did not find someone who finally understood you. You found someone who studied you long enough to perform understanding. Alcibiades, the Athenian general and politician who lived from 450 BC to 404 BC, was famous in the ancient world for being able to be whoever he needed to be in whatever context he found himself. In Athens, he was the perfect Athenian. Sophisticated, witty, democratic in his rhetoric. The Athenians believed he was one of them at the deepest level. When he defected to Sparta after political troubles in Athens, he became the perfect Spartan. He grew his hair long. He ate the famous black broth without complaint. He spoke of military discipline as if he had been raised in it. The Spartans believed he was one of them. When he later defected to Persia, he became the perfect Persian courtier. He wore the robes. He participated in the ceremonies. He spoke of Persian customs with knowledgeable respect. The Persians believed he was one of them. In each case, the people who hosted him believed they had found a kindred spirit. They had not. They had found a man who studied them well enough to manufacture the appearance of kinship. He betrayed each of these alliances when it served his interest, and each betrayal shocked the betrayed because they had genuinely believed he was one of them. The lesson is uncomfortable. The person who seems to understand you perfectly may genuinely understand you, or may have studied you well enough to perform the appearance of understanding. The two are nearly indistinguishable from inside the relationship. The way to test it is to share an opinion you do not actually hold and see if they enthusiastically agree. The mirror will agree. The genuine connection will push back gently with their own honest perspective. The rule: the person who seems to understand you perfectly may be performing understanding. Test the mirror. 7 signs. Once you can see them, they become impossible to mistake for normal behavior. Premature intimacy, unreasonable generosity, asymmetric availability, universal narrative benefit, incremental positioning, hidden competition. The perfect mirror. Most people in your life will fail none of these. Some will fail 1 or 2 innocently. The predator will fail 4 or more consistently over time. You do not need to confront them. You do not need to expose them. You need to see clearly. Once you see clearly, the relationship can be redesigned without drama. The predator's power depends on your inability to see them. The moment you see them, that power evaporates. If something in this shifted how you see one specific relationship in your life, the subscribe button is there. The next video covers the 6 warning signs that someone you trust is about to betray you. Some of you will recognize the pattern immediately. You have been warned.